My name is Shannon Camilleri, and in the spring of 2018 and the spring of 2019, both my partner and I used the shelter services at the Harvest House here in Moncton. Well, we had fallen homeless. What initially started our homelessness was the fact that my partner had been attacked in Halifax. We were robbed of our funds. And so he ended up in a male shelter. I ended up in a female shelter in Halifax. And then we decided that we would make our way eventually to Moncton, which we did. When we first got here in December, in December of 2018, we were out of the cold shelter, and that's what led us to go back to the Harvest House in 2019. I'd have to definitely say that the most positive experiences I've had at the Harvest House would be some of the people I met. And with that, I mean the people that I met that were also using the shelter. Sometimes you just never know the type of people you're going to meet in the most vulnerable and rock bottom moments of your life. And some of those people who, some may look rough around the edges and some may look like, are you sure you're homeless? But we all come from a story. We all have a background. At the end of the day, we're all in a similar position. And so it was nice to have people who were at a similar level and could understand and empathize with, some of my daily struggles with being homeless. And to this day, I still have a lot of those friendships. My experiences at Harvest House. Well, we'll have to start in the spring of 2018 when in the evenings at the Harvest House, when it's 9 o'clock and you're escorted upstairs to the dorm area, there's a female side and there's a male side. And during that process of, everybody's rummaging to get into their rooms and whatnot, you're handed your laundry bags if you needed laundry done that night, and you put your laundry in, and staff would write your name on the bag, and they would do your laundry during the night and bring it back up to you in the morning. I thought, well, this is great. Yeah, until Trevor, one of the overnight workers, decided that it would be great. Instead of writing Shannon on my laundry bag, he wrote One-Legged Wonder with a red Sharpie. I chuckled a bit because I don't define myself by my disability. So maybe not every day, but quite often, one-legged jokes get told, or, hey, Shannon, or hey, Pegleg, and I'll laugh with you, I'll joke with you, and I take zero offense. But somebody who's a staff member, who's helping people in a shelter during the most vulnerable and exposed time of your life, I wasn't offended, but I thought it was really awkward. You're not even my friend. If my friend came and wrote that, or one of my kids came and wrote that, I'd be laughing all day long. And it wasn't even me that took the greatest offense to it. It was my partner. He's like, I don't even view you that way. So why does somebody else view you that way? So he took great offense. He spent more time letting the individual know that what he thought of him. And then it didn't really stop there. Sure, we went to bed that night, but we got up in the morning and there's Trevor again. I'm sitting at a chair outside the men's dorm. There's a table there, and it has even a dry erase board that has your daily chores written on it. I'm just sitting there waiting for Chris to finish doing what he was doing so we can get on with our day. And Trevor comes up to me and goes, Shannon, do you mind if I pray with you? Sure, why not? I don't know if I should have said, sure, why not? Because then he asked me to take my pant leg out of my pants, and he started praying that my leg was going to grow back. Now, that's when I really wanted to laugh. Never mind the night before. That's when I really wanted to laugh. I have faith. I believe I'm here by some greater power. However, I've been an amputee for 37 years. I lost my leg to cancer at the age of 11. And just like when I was 11, I know that my leg is never growing back. So then we move forward to this year. And Out of the Cold shelter closed April 1st. And back at the Harvest House, we are. And off the start, I have to say, like, it wasn't that bad. You know, we got to sleep on the main floor. You were able to go outside and have a smoke. You weren't necessarily stuck to the sleeping curfew. You couldn't leave the building, but at least you can go out and back and still have a cigarette in the middle of the night and whatnot. But this one particular night, my partner and I was time to put cots up. And my partner and I were just in a conversation amongst the two of us, you know, just like couples do every day. And they call, it's time to get your cots ready. So we go to the clothing room, grab our cot, you know, pull it out, go to the other room, grab your bedding. And we're still just engaging in our own private conversation. And our cots were put up side by side. And my partner got kicked out for the night for it. First, we just both stood there. And then, you know, Chris isn't really one to initiate confrontation. And so he moved his cot to their designated men's area, which was literally a table. So you have the women's cots, you have a row of tables, and then you have the men's cots. So he might have had to move that cot, I don't know, maybe 5 feet. So the cot pulls out and it snaps open and his finger got caught. And that's when he goes, fuck, right? And he said it loudly for everybody here. Did they not call the RCMP because he cursed? Like, really? Anyways, the cot was moved by the time the RCMP got there. RCMP gets there. But prior to the RCMP getting there, I made it very, very clear that they may have whatever kind of rule, but my partner isn't just my partner. My partner is also my caregiver. And your live-in caregiver can be at your side, at your aid, as freely as a service dog. Sorry, hon, I don't want to compare you to a dog, but in this case, your service dog helps you to see across the street or help you, you know, there's so many uses for service dogs these days. Sometimes the dog just goes to the hospital, somebody's sick, and that isn't the companionship of an animal. But that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is the fact that when I voiced my opinion about my federal human rights, I got told this is the Harvest House. We have our own sets of rules, regulations, and policies. And I said, so if I contacted the federal government and I told them about this incident at the Harvest House, they're going to tell you, yes, Miss Camilleri, JP and Mario at the Harvest House are absolutely right. Their rules and regulations and policies trump the Charter of Human Rights. Just by me just saying that just now, like, sounds absurd. Again, it was just turning into a screaming match with them, and I just couldn't say enough. Like, you guys are actually in the wrong here. It's not like as if we set up our cots, we crawled into bed, and we're sleeping on the same cot. Do you know what I mean? Like, just because you're homeless doesn't mean you don't have morals and self-respect and some dignity, and like, it doesn't mean you're hopeless and an exhibitionist. I don't know where they were going with this. And then as my partner's getting his stuff to get ready to go, I made sure he was packing up some of my stuff too. And they're like, no, Shannon, you can stay. And I'm like, oh, no, but no, I can't. You just violated my human rights. I'm not going to stick around here for this. What, so you guys can belittle him behind his back? And I'm still fighting with you all night about my human rights. No, I'm good. So I left with him that night. And it wasn't shortly after that I opted to live in a tent. than to conform to the Harvest House on any level. My partner has this caring heart. So anybody asks him to do something and it's, sure, if he can do it, he's gonna do it. So the Harvest House would ask him to, help them with their food order. And let me also say that that would be the only time that I would be allowed to sit inside the Harvest House. Otherwise, I was outside standing on crutches on one leg with everybody else outside. I don't ever look for special treatment, but when they close their doors and lock it and you're out there, sometimes you don't even know how long you're going to be out there. I don't know, just letting you guys know it hurts on one leg, just putting that out there. But Chris would help. So that'd be when I'd be able to sit inside. Probably a good thing, because I'd watch these food orders come in and I'd see produce, I'd see quality cut meats, I'd see decent snacks and pastries and all sorts of things. And then you'd see those nicely packed boxes all be divided. At first I was like, what? Why? Like, why wouldn't you just take it to the fridge, take it to the freezer, done day, everything's put away? Oh no. They divide it. They take all the good quality food order and it gets lugged over to the recovery centers. And the balance of what they consider to be shelter food is left for the shelter. And sometimes that's not even enough to even feed those who are there. So either you're helping or you're hurting, right? And when you're in a community and you make yourself as prominent as a shelter, people go to a shelter for help. That's usually self-explanatory. Shelter, help. Not shelter, conformity, help. Not, how about we take this for ourselves or take this for our recovery people and segregate those who need help. Help. What a wonderful word to use with the Harvest House, considering the fact that their last 4 digits of their phone number is help. That's another baffling moment. There's a question for you, Cal. Why is it help? Why? Why is it help? I've heard many things, and that's fine. That can be left as hearsay, and you're welcome to that. But one thing is, you cannot take away observation. You cannot take away the fact that if my education taught me anything, it was how to be a people watcher. Yes, I came to your shelter with a film degree. So casting, directing, all that kind of thing that we learn in our post-secondary education, regardless if it's something that we take great interest in, they're things that kind of boost our personalities. I'm so grateful that I'm a people watcher, because help is definitely not a 4-letter word in the English language that I would use to identify the Harvest House. I have seen homelessness progress instead of degress. And to be in a first world country, I find that to be extremely disturbing, especially when I write for a third world country magazine and I write about social issues. I write about the difference between being an African and an African Canadian. What are the differences and what are the similarities? And unfortunately, our homelessness is very similar to that of a third world country. And Cal Maskery, you and your organization, you guys are definitely not help in a first world country. Not by far. And you can say that that's just me talking to talk, but I have sat in your shelter day in, day out, when we were permitted to be inside. I've heard, I've watched, man. And this is supposed to be a place of God. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Do unto others as you want done unto you. Let's be a family. Let's be happy. Well, how do you be happy when you're belittling those who are the most vulnerable? And you give help when you see fit. You give help when you are benefiting. If it wasn't about you and your benefits, then that food order that my partner was so generous to give of his time to lug for you would have never been separated. It would have been divided. You know, if there's 5 packages of ground beef, you divide that into 2.5. 2.5 goes here, 2.5 goes there, if that's how you have to make ends meet. But you don't take all 5 to the recovery and leave the shelter with what? Because I do recall, Cal, being in your lineup for food. I was a resident in your shelter, and there was chicken being served. By the time my partner and I got to the lineup, we had to wait in line for hot dogs to be boiled. Like even in our first experience of being at the Harvest House, I was pregnant. And Sue McDonald's way of dealing with, there was nothing to deal with. I just needed a flipping doctor's appointment. I didn't need her to try to rearrange my entire life. I needed the doctor's appointment because I was even worried. And as it turned out, I miscarried. That's something that I'll live with. But I will never be able to live with the fact that this woman was she told me that you should go to Crossroads and leave Chris to fend for himself on the street. I don't ever remember having a conversation with her telling her, you know what, I really need to get away for Chris. I don't think this is the best for me. That conversation, nothing like that ever took place. So I just didn't understand. And then I find out what Sue Macked and Hal is all about. My word. The child I lost or the children I have and the grandchildren I have, they've never been subjected to anything so malicious. This is a woman who I thought was so friendly. You know, she just seemed to be like, hi, how are you? Good morning. You know, and sometimes those things are really encouraging and motivating to get your day going, right? And then to find out what she's really about, and she picks and chooses who's part of her clique. No, I don't want to be part of your clique. I don't want my kids or anybody else's kids part of your clique. I'm sorry. The staff of the Harvest House, you guys need your recovery program more than those that are in your recovery program. Because you guys haven't even owned your own faults. And even as of today, like there's comments and there's emails and texts and phone calls going out, and there's no onus, there's no ownership. But when you guys do your recovery and you guys are in church, you guys talk about owning it so you can become one with God, right? When are you becoming one with God? When are you taking off your mask so God can actually see these people? When are you guys taking off your masks as a group so God can see what the Harvest House is truly about? I wouldn't be surprised if those masks are so embedded that they'll never come off. There's probably a good reason for that. Because while you guys are trying to promote recovery, you guys aren't even truly recovered yourself. And I don't say that to be disrespectful, but if love starts within before you can ever love somebody else. Helping yourself, helping others comes right after it. I don't know. You guys might want to try your recovery program, see how it works.